And welcome into the Friday edition. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser here with you. Robby and Rexrode sponsored by First Horizon, Big Bank Muscle, Small Bank Hustle. There's a firsthorizon.com/get it all. You know, we've had a lot of conversation over the last couple of weeks about our show open. People were very upset when we took another biscuit out of there. What am I doing in this show open? Am I reading off a depth chart of positions in the National Football League? Edge rusher, right tackle, right guard, quarterback, running back. I'd love to know what I was doing at that time.
It's a great question, and we can never take it out because now kids are going to be place kicker,
yeah, just going through the whole thing, punter.
It's an interesting contrast.
I was just sitting here, just apparently reading things,
and I'm saying, "Burr, burr, burr."
We gotta go Strider on second.
Yeah, and I have I don't remember what was that? Was that like something about baseball?
That was the golden bat roll.
Oh, the golden bat roll. Okay, all right. So that one, okay. And then the biscuit. Were you talking about Devondre Sweat or something? Like I have no idea.
Don't know.
It's just like I like biscuits.
I think so. Yeah.
And you like to tell us about. I like football, sports, baseball, basketball.
There's the cornerback, and there's the safety, and the inside linebacker.
When people listen to the open, they can't resist sticking with the whole show.
Yeah.
Right?
Why would you not?
Exactly.
And if you ever forget, where positions are on the football field, I'm here to let you know.
Yeah.
I got you covered. How we doing?
Doing okay. This computer is it's about to I'm gonna have to this weekend. I think I'm gonna get out the MacBook and I'm gonna learn it.
Hallelujah. Amen.
I'm gonna have to do it, but it's but I'm just not tech savvy, so it's gonna be painful. But I have to do it. This thing is terrible now. It crawls.
Geezer, what's going on? How we doing?
Hey, doing good. Why does it crawl, Joe? What does that mean?
I mean, maybe it has a virus. I don't know, but it's
going slow.
I mean, I had to steal this from my middle child after my car got broken into in Knoxville and all my stuff, including my computer,
yes,
which was my old MacBook.
Don't you have your own Google profile? Because every time you log into our grid, you're Katie. Do you know that?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I have no idea.
I don't know, man.
It works for me, whatever.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Absolutely. We got a lot to get into on the program today. Stilly will be with us at 7 o'clock. We'll get into all things Titans with him. Predators head coach Andrew Brunette will join us at 7:30 today. And Teron Davenport, who has been all over the place. Been in Dallas, down in Mobile, the Senior Bowl. So Teron doing a lot of scouting this week. We'll get his thoughts on all of that a little bit later in the program as well. Joe, we begin with some news that I kind of heard starting to trickle down the last couple of days that was thrown out there and made public yesterday. Bill and Chrissy Haslam have submitted a bid to the WNBA to become an expansion team. The Tennessee Summit, named after Pat Summitt, obviously. That is the submission. And if things go well in this process and they are awarded the team, they would begin in the 2028 season. They would play games at Bridgestone Arena. And Haslam has also said, at some point in there, he'd probably like to work in games here or there in Knoxville and Memphis and Clarksville and all these different places. But Bridgestone Arena would be their primary, place of play. And that 2028 could be the start year for this. Candace Parker's involved with this. Peyton Manning's involved with this. There's a lot of, obviously really interesting backers that they've got. Tim McGraw, Faith Hill involved in that as well. But the WNBA potentially coming to Nashville. Joe, what did you make of that news when you saw it yesterday?
Well, there have been rumblings in the past, but now it's really taking shape, and I think it's exciting. I think it's perfect. I think this could be a great WNBA city. Also, it's interesting that this is announced yesterday, and then the big news of last night in the sports world is Vanderbilt's Michaela Blake scores more points. The headline is NCAA freshman record, 53 points. But I think it's more impressive that it's the SEC record.
Yeah.
All these great players that have gone through Tennessee and Mississippi State and all these other pros. This is the most points scored in an SEC game. So tell me again, 2028. So when is Michaela Blake's done with her? If it goes as planned, 4 years of college at Vanderbilt, in which I'm telling you she is going to be a strong candidate for National Player of the Year. She is going to be one of the most famous athletes in the country in Nashville, Tennessee. So what is the draft? I don't know. Do they get auto first
They play
pick?
like the summer, don't they? Would they get auto first pick? That could be awesome.
I mean, seriously, like I'm looking at like Michaela Blake's first pick for your Tennessee Summit. Oh, no, sorry, wait. Tennessee Summit or Nashville Summit?
Tennessee Summit.
Tennessee Summit, yeah, which is cool, by the way. And some people out there struggle a little bit with the Summit. It is two T's.
It is two T's.
Like Pat Summit.
Yes.
But that could be incredible.
Yeah. I mean, that could be on the table. And again, like always when these conversations come up, whether it's WNBA or Major League Baseball, my first question is always, Joe, all right, well, who's paying for it? Like, who's the owner? Well, we know that they got enough money. Like,
unlike baseball, we now know
that the owner
money.
there is legitimate ownership that is going to be able to handle it. And obviously, you know, with the WNBA and Major League Baseball, you're talking about two different financial profiles at the moment. But like, I'm no WNBA approval expert here. I don't really know why this wouldn't happen. Like, I think when you've got this sort of structure in place, and this is obviously a league now, particularly with Caitlin Clark coming in the last year, that has exploded in popularity. Like, I think you're going to see them expand. I think this has a pretty good chance of happening by the time 2028 rolls around. Yeah. He did say, you know, there's no exact timeline as to when this could be approved or not. I was reading throughout, you know, the Tennessean has done a good job being all over this, and Paul Scribina. And Bill Haslam has talked about how hopefully like sometime in the next 5-6 months he hears something, but there's no real exact timeline as to when that could be.
Yeah. And no, the commissioner has said in the past, and I want to say, I know that I've talked to some of our WNBA people at the Athletic, I guess it was last year, it might have even been the year before. Like, there's been a lot of conversation from the league that Nashville is perfect. Every league says it's all. I mean, that's the thing. MLB says it too, but the difference, of course, is what you just said, right? Okay, so who's footing the bill? Right. And so in this case, we've got that answer. So it seems like a slam dunk. Pun intended.
Nice.
Yeah, thank you. And I think that's then you talk about this city as a pro sports city. You know, NFL, NHL, MLS, WNBA. It's pretty good. I got to tell you, I mean, I'm sitting here right now heading into February, and I'm like, man, I want to watch Caitlin Clark play basketball again. You know, it's like we got to wait till the summer. I know that the NBA tried to get her to do the 3-point competition, but I mean, it's going to be really interesting to see where things go with that league. I think it's going to, because it is a void, you know. And look, to be honest, as much as I love basketball, and I've watched women's college basketball forever, and NBA and men's college basketball, I just hadn't watched a lot of WNBA. And last summer, that totally changed, including games that didn't involve Caitlin Clark. I'm just speaking for myself, but I don't think I'm alone. And I think it's absolutely a rising stock. And again, we just continue to have more and more talent and exciting players. Juju Watkins is going to be the next one. You can't take your eyes off Juju Watkins. Well, Michaela Blake just beat her record. So there's more and more coming in, and I just think it's perfect timing.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think it's awesome. And look, good on Bill Haslam for like kind of getting the ball rolling on this. I'm really interested to see, I guess, what this looks like in terms of, all right, you've got the NHL team, you've got the NFL team. At this point, those two teams are deeply established and deeply rooted here. MLS has come in over the last few years. You've got WNBA potentially around the corner. And then, you know, the baseball conversation comes up all the time. Like, when is Nashville getting a baseball team? Like, to me, I talked about this last year. Like, quite frankly, like, I'm not really entertaining that anymore until you tell me who's paying for it. Like, that's the next time that I will really legitimately start to pay attention to Major League Baseball coming to Nashville. I think it's like, I have no doubt that everybody, like, on the MLB side of things probably wants it to happen at some point. And there are different paths to getting there. It doesn't necessarily have to be an expansion team. Like, who knows? Maybe somebody else moves at some point. But again, until you tell me who's paying for that, it's going to be difficult to get there. I don't know. Like, is Bill Haslam going to step up and do that too? I have no idea. Like, what? How much money?
You
Bill
got
Haslam
the money, Bill. Come on.
Are you gonna own the Preds, WNBA team, and Major League Baseball? I have no idea. But right now, as currently constructed, there's really not a great answer for that question at the moment.
I fill up at Pilots a lot, and I buy a lot of snacks too. By the way,
Yeah.
so I know.
It's
I
an
know
impressive
it can
gas
happen.
station.
It is. Yeah. No, I'm with you. It's like, then you obviously you got the you got the team moving here scenario,
right?
In which case, then you'd know ownership, but then you get to then where
are they playing?
But that would still though that would at least
I'd rather be in that spot than who in the world is paying for this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the meantime, I hope people are excited about this. I think it could be really cool. Again, in the summers, I like last summer, I was like, I actually have stuff that I look forward to watching in sports a lot of days of the summer, and for me, I watch Tigers baseball too, but it's great to have an alternative. And I think it could be really good here in the summers to have a WNBA and have an exciting player like Michaela Blake. So I've already made their draft pick for him.
Yeah,
there you go.
Good stuff today. The draft is already set for when they come in the league. I like it. 615-737-1025. Our phone number, your reaction to the WNBA potentially coming to Nashville here over the next few years. We'll take more of your thoughts on that. We'll get back into the Sam Darnold conversation that Charles Robinson spearheaded yesterday on our program as well. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5-106.3 The Game. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. Jared Stillman will be with us at 7 o'clock. We'll get into all things Tennessee Titans with him. I'm sure the Sam Darnold conversation also will come up with him as well, Joe, who he has been honing in on the Sam Darnold stuff. We did ask Charles Robinson on our program yesterday about Sam Darnold. We've talked a lot about Sam Darnold with Charles Robinson throughout this season. And the answer, for the most part, has typically always been the same. Like, Darnold was playing really well. He was in the midst of leading the Vikings to a 14-win season. He looked like he had revitalized his career. And then we know what happened the last two games. There was a huge game to close out the regular season against Detroit, and he just laid an egg out there. Had some wide open throws that he just missed. They get to the playoffs against the Rams, and he gets sacked a billion times. He's holding on to the ball, misses some more throws. They lose that game. And two consecutive bad performances by Darnold, and that's how the Viking season comes to an end. So yesterday we talked with Charles, and he brought up the idea that, maybe the thinking is a little bit different. The two games at the end of the year, maybe that did sour Minnesota on Sam Darnold, and that maybe he could be attainable for the Titans or anybody else this offseason. Jared has thrown out the idea of, if they tag Darnold in Minnesota, would you give up 35 overall if you're the Titans to go get him? And there's been varying degrees of screaming on both sides about that. I do wonder, like, if you're the Titans and you're evaluating the quarterback picture as a whole right now, obviously you've got the draft option that's available to you. But if you get the sense heading into free agency that Darnold is available, how much does that affect what your plan could be at quarterback? Like, is Sam Darnold enough, Joe, for you to have a plan one way at quarterback and he changes it? Like, if you're more apt to draft someone, but all of a sudden he becomes available, could you pursue that if you're the Titans? Because, again, like, the Titans are not the only team in need of a quarterback. If Sam Darnold does make it to free agency, the Titans are not going to be the only team that could be interested in him. Now, again, the Stafford stuff, he brought up Stafford yesterday and not knowing for sure whether he's going to be back with the Rams. Like, to me, that's interesting. I think it's worth keeping an eye on. I just have a really tough time imagining Matt Stafford with the Tennessee Titans. It's hard for me to get there with them coming off a 3-14 season. So it feels like, of the free agent options, it's everybody else we've laid out for the last couple of weeks. And then now maybe if Sam Darnold is available, you can throw his name in the hat as well.
Yeah, it wouldn't change my plan because, like you mentioned, you're thinking about drafting quarterback, and whoa, Darnold. To me, I guess this is why you got to have your plan soon, right? But I'm only drafting him if I'm sure, like we've talked about, that, oh yeah, this is the face of the franchise for the next 15 years. So if you believe that, if that's the only way you draft him and you believe that, good luck, Sam Darnold.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? So it might change my free agent plan, And like, well, okay, I'll take Darnold over Russ or Justin Fields, or the Russ Justin Fields. Just bring the whole competition to Nashville.
Sure.
But yeah, as far as the drafting, and I know, yes, you could do I've mentioned it too, but I guess I'm cooling on this. Get a starting level free agent and draft the quarterback. I mean, at what point are you so bad around both of those guys that, like, you can't even give them a chance next year?
Yeah.
Right. I think
it's hard for me to get to that.
That's a tough one. That's a tougher sell and again, I introduced that. So, I'm arguing with myself here, but that happens a lot. So yeah, I mean, Darnold certainly would be at the top of my free agent list, unless, as you said, Stafford were to come available. But I'm with you. Like, Matthew Stafford is not trying to come someplace that went 3-14 last year when his clock is so limited at this point.
Like, Jared said this yesterday, and I think I agree with it. Like, I think Stafford might retire before he played quarterback for the Tennessee Titans. Like,
yeah,
I really do.
Yeah,
like,
I agree.
I think that might be on the table. Like, Stafford, if it's not in LA with the Rams, it's going to be with a team that he feels like is close. and maybe that he's the missing piece. And I just look, just because you went 3-14 last year doesn't mean that you're bad the next year. Like the Titans, look, they could have an incredible offseason, and who knows with this division, maybe they're right back into contention next year for the division. I have no idea. It feels like they're far away right now. And like from the outside looking in, I don't know if there's a lot you can point to right now on this roster. By the time that free agency comes around, which is when all this is going to go down, I don't know if there's a lot that you could point to right now on the roster that gets you overly excited if you're a veteran quarterback. Now, Darnold's different. Stafford's had a ton of big paydays in his career, and Darnold really hasn't to this point. Now, how much has the last 2 games kind of ruined what Darnold could get in the offseason? I think probably significantly. Like those last 2 games have probably done significant damage. So, if it's a franchise tag in Minnesota, that's one thing, because then you're talking about a trade that would have to go down. If Minnesota just looks at it and says, yeah, we're just going to go with JJ McCarthy and we're letting you go to free agency, then I wonder what that number is. Like, what sort of a contract would you have to commit to Sam Darnold in order to land his services if you're the Titans?
Yeah, I mean, 40 a year, 4 years, I don't know, 60 guaranteed, 80 guaranteed, basically two years of it guaranteed. I'm just at the top of my head, that's about what I would throw out there, which to me, if you're going to get the quarterbacking that he gave them all year, I think that's a good deal for you.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody else,
yeah,
maybe someone else out there drives up the price and really wants him. And again, if you're him, it's different because he's young. So you could be sold on the idea of leading a franchise out of the wilderness, back to glory. But also you probably have a lot of questions about this team and franchise too, right? So there may be as you said earlier this week, there may be a little extra tax that you have to pay. But that's just off the top of my head about what I think he'll end up getting if he were on the open market.
Like, if you're a Titans fan, because I agree, like in order to land Sam Darnold, it's probably going to take multiple years of commitment. So would you rather do that, or would you rather sign a Russell Wilson as like a bridge quarterback for a year, or a Kirk Cousins on a deal that you can get out of after you? I mean, that's the thing. Like, what are those other guys going to command? Like, are there situations for Russell Wilson or a Kirk Cousins where they can find a spot that it's more than a year? Like, particularly with Cousins right now, it's hard for me to get there. Like, it's hard for me to get more than a year of commitment to Cousins right now.
Yeah, I agree. Look, to me, I mean, if you actually had a chance to have a guy for a few years locked up, I would take that over a year of those guys. I mean, I think he's better at this point, and it's not like after that year. So what happens after that year? You can hope that you're bad enough to be at the top of the draft to get Arch, who may not even be good enough and may not even be in the draft, or Nico, whatever you think is. I mean, there's no guarantee next year. There's some people saying it's going to be way better quarterback class, but who do we know for sure is going to be great?
Nobody. I mean, like, I like a lot about Drew Aller. Like, he's got a chance to be a good NFL player. Yeah, he's got a chance.
Like, traits.
Look, we joke about this, but in all seriousness, like, I know that Arch Manning is a high-level recruit. I know that Arch Manning's got a lot of talent. I have no idea what that's going to look like when he gets out there and plays as a starting quarterback. So I'd like to see that before we start talking about the NFL future. But it's not like crazy to me to suggest that Arch Manning might be pretty good at playing quarterback at Texas. So
sure,
like, the idea that, he could be available in next year's draft, I think is at least reasonable. I still have my doubts that he's not going to stay there for another 2 years and play, but we'll see what happens on that front. But to your point, there's nobody, like, we knew a year before Caleb Williams came out of the draft that Caleb Williams was coming out of the draft and that he was probably going number 1 overall. I don't know that anybody really fits that bill right now in next year's draft.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like, there's some years where it's like, clearly this is 1, and sometimes it's clearly this is 1 and 2, and then it might change. But yeah, I mean, Williams and May, I mean, they changed a little bit because May kind of rose and fell in some of the conversation, but ultimately he ended up about where people thought, and then Jaden Daniels just entered the mix, So, yeah, there's going to be someone like Jaden Daniels probably in a lot of years, and I don't know, this year, I mean, Charles introduces Jackson Dart to us, and then I hear he's not looking that great at the Senior Bowl. I have no idea,
Yeah, I know.
But but that will happen. I mean, that will happen for sure. That you will have, that you'll have quarterbacks that come out of nowhere. But the point is, if you have a 1-year quarterback, you don't know how good you're going to be. You don't know what that sets you up for. Yeah, if you get a 1-year quarterback and you trade out of one and you have multiple ones, so you have the possibility of moving up, then okay, I get that. But I would opt for what you think would be good quarterback play for multiple years.
615-737-1025. Our phone number will take more of your thoughts on the quarterback conundrum for the Titans this offseason. Also, a lot of scouting going on this week. We had the East-West Shrine Bowl, Senior Bowl going on down there. We'll get into some highlights from all that as well. Or maybe we'll just make fun of all the drills that are going on out there too. We might do that as well. Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063, The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. We are live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Robby and Rexrode brought to you by First Horizon, big bank muscle, small bank hustle. Visit firsthorizon.com/get-it-all. Taking your thoughts on the quarterback position for the Tennessee Titans. Mike on the text line, Joe, says, Sam Darnold sucks. And then in the same sentence, Joe says, had the same season as Jaden Daniels, which kind of feels like those two things do not add up.
Doesn't
Does not
suck.
Says the only difference is one's been in the game for a while and the other one's a rookie. So if I had to take my pick, I'd rather choose the rookie.
Yeah,
Any other quarterback over Sam Darnold.
Okay.
I smoke weed constantly.
Yeah, I would take Jaden Daniels over Sam Darnold.
I would too.
For the
Unfortunately, that's not an option
record.
for the Titans.
We're probably not. Wait, maybe think. What do you think? Jeff Simmons in a fourth?
Hey,
Commanders
so.
move him, trade him for the Titans.
How's he going to get traded to the Patriots if he gets traded there?
Oh, that's right. May have to a 3-team trade.
Yeah.
He goes to the Patriots. Titans get Joe Milton. All right, there we go. We figured it out. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think Sam Darnold sucks. I think he was pretty good this year. I do have. I'd love to see let's just say, he plays really well. They lose in a shootout to the Lions. And let's say he plays really well. They lose in a shootout to the Rams, let alone winning those games. But he looks like a good quarterback in those games. I think the conversation is a lot different now. I mean, I can't quantify how costly those two games were. They were costly.
Yeah.
Also, doesn't erase what we saw all year. I think he's good.
Got one texture that says, is Cooper Kupp a lock to the Titans? He's over 30, was once a top receiver in the league, and now he can go finish in Tennessee. It fits the trend. Cooper, come on in. We got a lot of room for you.
Will that get Matthew Stafford here?
I don't know.
Package deal?
Don't know.
They got Robert Woods a few years ago.
They did.
That worked out well.
One texture says, I'm cool with Russ if he's cheap. Honestly, I've not spent a ton of time considering Russell Wilson this offseason. But, I mean, you got to throw him in with everybody else. I don't know what Pittsburgh's doing. I don't know what Pittsburgh's doing at quarterback and what their plan is. Is Russell Wilson an option, Joe, that you would seriously consider if you're the Titans at this point?
It doesn't excite me, but I mean, it's something that is worth talking about. What does seriously consider mean?
Would he? I'll put it to you this way: if Russell Wilson, if you're going the veteran quarterback route, let's say that's just for the sake of this discussion, the route they decide to go, and they're looking at a veteran, is Russell Wilson at or near the top of that list for you if you're the Titans?
I mean, what does near mean? He's not at the top. Yeah, the list gets.
Is he within the top 20?
Yeah, I would say yes. The list gets pretty light pretty quickly. He's another. I had sort of given up on his career. I'm wrong on him every time. When he went to Denver, I was like, oh my God, Broncos taking over the league. And then I laughed at the idea that he could even beat Justin Fields out last year. And then I was like, oh, wow, he is back. And then he sucked at the end of the year. So everything I say about him goes the other way. But it's not. I don't think it's an exciting option. He's certainly seen his best days. They are past him. He's a decent. Again, if we're going to compare everything to Darnold, I would go for the younger guy who still may have some runway to improve as opposed to that guy. But I would go with the older guy in Stafford because he's, I think, just better.
A lot of people on the text line back to Darnold throwing the question out there that I think I have, and I think that other teams will have as well. What does Darnold look like away from Justin Jefferson or Jordan Addison? What does Darnold look like here with
T.J. Hawkinson
right now, this offensive line? Now, again, you're allowed to improve your team this offseason. I realize the Titans' offensive line sucks right now, and they've got to get a way to figure that out. Their receiving core is not overly exciting. There's a lot to not like about the Titans. You are allowed to improve your team this offseason, so keep that in mind. But, what does Darnold look like away from that situation? And, by the way, away from that head coach and play caller as well. Now, again, I heard Jared talking about this the other day, and the general premise of it, I agree with. If you're worried about going to get a quarterback because he's not going to be paired with that head coach, he's going to be paired with your head coach, then that probably doesn't speak well of the way that you view your head coach. So in a vacuum, I agree with that, but I also understand that Kevin O'Connell has done a marvelous job in terms of kind of molding his offense, and he got the best out of Kirk Cousins, and he got the best out of Sam Darnold. Like, Kevin O'Connell's a great coach.
Yep.
So look, Brian Callahan at this point is not. I mean, the proof is what it is at this point. So look, can Brian Callahan turn into one of those guys one day? Maybe. I have no idea. Probably wouldn't bet on it right now, but there's a difference between at this moment being coached by Kevin O'Connell and being coached by Brian Callahan, whether or not, like, you as a franchise want to openly admit that.
Yeah. No, for sure. There's a chance here again that the pumpkin, the pumpkin transformation has happened, and it's not going to unhappen when you come to a place with way less talent and way less proven coaching than Sam Darnold. He had a great situation there. He went there to be the bridge QB, and probably people figured that the rookie would probably take over about halfway through the year, and there you go. That's what he was doing the last year, and he took advantage of the opportunity, and he did a great job. It was a very good situation. So it's a fair question. He also does get a break for the bad situation he was in New York. And I can't look at last year. I watched a fair amount of them and just dismiss what I saw, with his performance. It still comes down to, like, he performed really well in a lot of games. So I think there's definitely something there. But yeah, to think he would come in here with this team, like you said, they'll be different. They should be better. They darn well better be better. But to think he's going to come in and just replicate that is probably unrealistic. Still, he's young, and so if you had him for a few years, you could do worse than that. I mean, I know that's an exciting endorsement, but you could do worse.
But isn't that kind of what the veteran quarterback market is? Like, there's not an option to me that's out there that I think is realistic, that is a slam dunk. I mean, otherwise, why would these guys be making it to free agency, right? Like, Sam Darnold, relative to some of the rest of the options, I think would be a pretty exciting option if you're the Titans. But look, Sam Darnold, he might come here and totally flop. I have no idea. Like, the other options, like Kirk Cousins, he just was brutal to end the season. What does that look like next year? Aaron Rodgers is 41 years old. Like, I've seen Aaron Rodgers play a lot of high-level football, and his numbers, when you get to the end of it last year, like, his numbers aren't really that bad, but he's 41 years old, and there's a lot that comes with that with him. Russell Wilson had about a 6-game run with Pittsburgh where he looked pretty darn good, and then it started to go the other way pretty quickly. Justin Fields has not demonstrated that he can be anything close to a high-level passer in this league to this point. So there are warts with everybody involved in the veteran quarterback conversation that I think is realistic. Again, I'm not considering Stafford here realistic. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me from his standpoint.
Yeah. No, I don't think that's happening at all. Texter says, what has Darnold done in previous years? Minnesota's not Tennessee, nowhere close, not worth the money it would take to get him. I don't think you pay a guy based off 1 year in a good team coming to a bad team. Well, again, I hear you, but like Robby said, well, first of all, like, the bad team, needs to change. So that has to be in tandem with whatever your quarterback decision is. There's no quarterback coming into, like, last year's team and setting the world on fire. No quarterback. I mean, Patrick Mahomes probably figure out a way to win a few more games than they did, but, like, it wouldn't be great.
And one more thing I'll say on that front as it relates to Darnold. Yes, it was 1 year. So, he was playing in Minnesota. He was not playing in San Francisco. But I do remember, we were having conversations with Charles Robinson, and, like, he brought up offhand a couple of years ago. He's like, yeah, by the way, in San Francisco, I'm hearing that Sam Darnold is, like, really, really impressing people.
Yeah. And that was back when it was like, he's past,
yeah, Trey Lance.
Yeah, Lance. It's like, what?
And I remember,
Trey Lance? How did that happen?
And I remember just kind of laughing at that and just being like, yeah, Sam Darnold. But, like, clearly, I think the trip out to Kyle Shanahan in San Francisco did a lot of good things for him. Like, I think that was a reset of his career. He got out of the dumpster fire with the Jets, the dumpster fire with the Panthers. He got out there in San Francisco. And look, he played really, really well this year with the exception of the most important 2 games of the year, which I know has to factor heavily into the discussion as well.
Right. And when it comes to system, obviously, so he was there with them, same system, general system in Minnesota, the new Shanahan, and then, of course, here too. So there's something to that, probably.
Let's head back to our 102.5 The Game phone line. Welcome in Chad in Hendersonville. Chad, good morning. Thanks for calling in.
Hey, appreciate y'all taking my call. On Sam Darnold, they played Green Bay at home, which they felt like was a playoff game. I guess week 16, he was actually unbelievable.
Yeah.
Then it kind of, then he fell off the cliff. But the question on him potentially, I just don't think that he comes back to Minnesota. I could be wrong. I just think if you're going to go with JJ McCarthy, I don't know if you want like quarterback controversy for that. And, there's some talk that Matthew Stafford wants to play another year, but it can't be with the Rams based on contract situation. Could he go to Minnesota on a 1-year deal? That's possible. But moving all the way to Mr. Darnold to Tennessee or one of the 5, 6, 7 teams that are needy for a quarterback, is that going to require, if you're Minnesota and you have multiple interests, you've seen the tag, the non-exclusive tag and trade. You've seen it done. Dee Ford comes to mind with the Chiefs a couple of years ago. Is that something what is the trade compensation? Is it a third? Is it a late day 2? Is that something that we're going to see a trade, or is he just going to be walking in in free agency? Real curious how that's going to play out. Thanks,
thanks for the call, Chad. That's why I think it makes a ton of sense if you're Minnesota to tag him.
Yeah.
Because you can
absolutely
then trade him if you want to. Or again, like, we keep talking about Darnold. I still, if I was a betting man today, my bet would be that they tag him and that he's their starting quarterback to begin next year. And then maybe at some point along the line, you transition to JJ McCarthy. But I continue to believe, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world for them to tag him, bring him back for another year. And then if you have to go to McCarthy at some point next year, you do it.
Yeah. Like I hear what Chad's saying about quarterback controversy, but look, McCarthy is a rookie this year who is rehabbing an ACL. And I know you can get those done quickly, but I don't see how, like, after you won 14 games the last year, it's totally reasonable for it to be basically the redo of this year, which is Darnold starting out the year, and then we'll see what happens. So to me, that's the smarter way for them to go. You have actual depth at the most important position. But if it did get to where they tag him, and then maybe it's like, well, if someone blows us away, then that's where Stilly comes in with 35.
Well, and by the way, like, you could tag him. He could be your starting quarterback next year. And like, if by like week 3, you feel like, man, this JJ McCarthy guy's unbelievable, he's ready to go, just trade him before the deadline next year. Get a haul in the middle of the year. Doesn't see that happen a whole lot in the NFL, but I'm all for midseason trades in the NFL.
Yeah.
We need to spice that up a little bit.
NFL's gotten way more fun with all this stuff.
615-737-1025, our phone number. More your thoughts on the quarterback front for the Titans. We will get into the Senior Bowl coming up next as well. Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5-106.3 The Game. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. You got some golf on the TV, which fired Joe up in the break.
Oh, yeah. More polyester pants. Tally-ho! Did you see this from Joey from Bellevue?
I did
This
not.
my dog Oscar is locked in this morning watching you guys. He sent us a picture of oh my god.
Oscar!
That poor dog. Look at him looking at that fat faced loser on his screen. I'm not talking about you.
Oh, you could be.
I mean, oh man. We got some work to do this year.
You're not going to find a show that's more dog friendly than this one.
That's true. Oh, by the way,
I'm appeal with the dogs.
Speaking of which, I won't make. I guess I could make this. I can't keep ranting about the dogs. One of them peed on the kitchen table.
The kitchen table.
Kitchen table.
I didn't know that's possible.
I didn't either.
Wow.
This is a real problem, man.
Good for them. They're really making a stand here in the Rexrode household.
Just claiming all the territory.
Was it Gus?
I don't know. I mean, I'm like, oh, did someone spill some Mountain Dew?
I think Gus is pissed at you for putting him on
camera. Let me smell that. Nope, that's not Mountain Dew. Huh? Because he's mad that I put him on the camera?
Yes.
He had his little star moment. I don't know which one of them did it, Gus or Quinn, but that's a problem.
You need to like hang a Ring doorbell in every one of your rooms.
Where can we
track
eat?
these dogs?
I know. There's nowhere to eat now. Dried pee on it. Sorry,
Gonna light the table on fire.
Anyway, good to see you, Oscar. Enjoy the show.
Thank you, Oscar. Appreciate it. I got one text that says Derek Carr a far more reasonable option if he's an option. Coaching familiarity and the long run would be a greater quarterback. Plus, he's cheaper.
Yeah, the
question
long run,
is he an option?
Yeah, we don't know that he's an option, but also in the long run.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Well, oh no, I guess he said it's been a far greater. Yeah, but I mean, what are we talking about now moving forward? You know, I feel like he's diminishing too. But I mean, I think he's.
But I mean, if he's available, like I would put him, kind of right up there with the mix of some of these other guys. I just like what's New Orleans doing at quarterback? Like, they got a lot of things they're gonna have to figure out. So we'll see what that looks like.
Yeah, they have a coach yet?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's gonna be Kellen Moore. But
okay,
we'll see. See what that looks like.
I want to get on that. It's February.
It is. So speaking of February, Joe, the calendar turning tomorrow to February. We are 1 month closer to the NFL draft, thank God. And the East-West Shrine Bowl has taken place this week. The Reese's Senior Bowl has taken place this week, Joe Rexrode.
Well, no, it hasn't taken place.
Well, the practices have taken place, the workouts, all those things, the drills.
Yeah.
And I believe the bowl itself taking place today, I think. So,
it's today, not tomorrow?
I think so.
They changed that?
I look.
It used to always be on the Saturday.
I saw a graphic that they flashed up on the NFL Network about the East-West Shrine Bowl and the Reese's Bowl and the Senior Bowl. Quite frankly, I could not care less. So it very well may be tomorrow. I have no idea.
So that's the point.
When this thing is. But that's kind of the point of there's a lot of videos being tossed around out there. And look, I'm not going to say that it's totally unimportant because, look, we're going to be talking about some of these guys. And, Jackson Dart's down there and Jalen Milroe's down there. And I did see a video of Jalen Milroe funneling a snap and then throwing an interception right to the other team. So, that stuff's not unimportant.
Same play?
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's not unimportant, but it's really difficult for me to give a single crap about the Senior Bowl. Or as I told you off air yesterday when we got off the show, I really forgot that the East-West Shrine Bowl was ever a thing until this year.
Yeah, and I don't. Yeah, and I don't. Yeah, look, for the people who go and get excited, good for you.
Yeah. It's like combine.
Like we're gonna have TD on later. I mean, TD was talking
He's
about
all in.
He's just brimming with excitement. That's great, man. I would go to like Pee Wee basketball and watch an entire day of that as a choice, as opposed to spending 5 minutes watching a Senior Bowl drill of anybody. Like, that's just me. I like sports, like people competing in sports against each other. The NFL, we have turned this into this meat market where we just break things down. And yeah, here and there, there's like some interesting storylines. Look, I'll bring up our friend Brian Summers, who just loves the Senior Bowl. He loved Puka Nacua a couple years ago. Cool.
Yeah. So
you can point to that and say, I knew that. I saw that guy at the Senior Bowl. I'm like, okay, that's great. Mostly, I don't remember what people tell us. Like, TD's going to tell some stuff. I'm interested to hear what he has to say today about what he saw. And then I'm going to, like, next year, I forget what he told us.
Yeah.
Like it all
Look,
goes.
we've had Jim Nagy from the Senior Bowl on the show
Yeah.
multiple times, and he's really good.
Sure.
Really like having him on.
And
But-
yeah, and there's some good evaluations of players that come with it. But again, to me, it's like, so then throw that into the pile of information that also goes with the combine.
That's the thing.
Mix it all together, and then ultimately the film of the college football is
Right.
still way more important than all of it.
Doesn't it all go back to, and this is the same conversation we have at the combine, like the testing numbers and the drills and all that, and like you can learn things from that, and it's not unimportant. But at the end of the day, like you've watched these guys play, like we've seen them play.
You're trying to confirm things
And
that
you're-
you saw in
and
film.
you can go back and watch that film. Like
Yeah.
that to me is always where the money in the draft is going to be made, is watching the guys playing the game.
Yeah, and the draft's great, and the NFL has done an incredible job of making it like it's its own Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And in some ways, like when you talk about what people get, like talk about viewership, talk about clicks and all that stuff, people are into because everybody wants to know what's next for their team,
Sure.
what's coming. So I get all that.
And look, I've done this stupid mock draft simulator 1,000 times
Right.
already.
I mean, that's like it just, man. Can you imagine doing this for any other sport?
No, I can't. Like,
And
no,
so I don't want to do it
can't.
for this one
Yeah,
either. I want sports.
Ben on the text line says, I turned on the East West Shrine Bowl last night and then questioned myself on what the hell I was doing. This from Ben on the text line. Hey, look, I get it. It's football. And football, more and more every year, Joe, is becoming a year-round thing.
Yeah, and once we got one game left, which is sad. We got one game left for months and months, which is sad, especially if you don't love basketball like I do. And I mean, we got basketball. It's basketball and hockey season,
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the local professional hockey team is not very good.
It's not going well.
But if you don't love those things, then I can't knock you. If you don't love basketball and hockey, then I can't knock you for like going down the rabbit hole here.
Yeah.
I also might say like get into Star Trek or something.
Star Wars,
Dungeons
good stuff.
and Dragons,
All of these things are acceptable.
Game of Thrones.
615-737-1025, our phone number. Stilly will be with us coming up next. We'll get his thoughts on the quarterback discussion as well. Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063, the game. Hour number 2, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser here with you. Robby and Rexrode brought to you by First Horizon. Big bank muscle, small bank hustle. Visit firsthorizon.com/get it all. We welcome in our friend Jared Stillman to the program, who joins us every Friday morning at 7 o'clock. Stilly, good morning. How are you?
Oh, I'm fabulous. How are you guys?
Doing wonderful.
Super.
Appreciate you taking time to be with us this morning. We've talked a lot about Sam Darnold this morning. Charles Robinson came on our show yesterday and talked about the last 2 games, Minnesota, maybe leaving a little bit of a sting on the Darnold front. Do you feel like Darnold could be even more attainable? You've thrown the trade scenario out there that we've talked about.
Sure.
Do you feel like it could be just straight up free agency where Sam Darnold could be attainable for the Titans this offseason?
I mean, I hope. I hope. That'd be nice, eh? You know, you don't have to trade any picks and you get the quarterback for a team that wants, 12 picks in the top 100 over the next 3 years. It would make it a lot easier to trade the number 1 pick if you didn't have to use the number 1 pick on a quarterback, and you would keep the 35th pick because you wouldn't have to trade it for a quarterback. I have a hard time believing the Vikings are going to do that simply because the supply and demand of the market. You know, I was thinking about this yesterday. Baker Mayfield last year did not get the franchise tag, I believe. Now, he might have signed before the deadline. Like, he might have signed before the tag deadline or right around free agency. But I don't think Baker got the tag last year, and they still worked out a reasonable contract with Baker coming off of kind of a similar year to what Sam Darnold had. Now, Baker didn't poop in the playoffs the way that Darnold did, but they came to an agreement there. It was almost like Tampa Bay wasn't really afraid of Baker going anywhere else.
That is correct. He did not get tagged.
I just think the supply and demand at the quarterback position, outside of Sam Darnold, there's nobody. Like, there is nobody. And there are so many teams that need quarterbacks. You know, Darnold is a special case because I don't think he can go to the Browns, because I don't think they'd pay 2 quarterbacks. I don't think Darnold goes to the Jets because he's already been on the Jets. So that kind of leaves it to the Titans, the Raiders, and the Giants. And then with the Giants, even though he didn't play for them, he has been in New York, and I think there has to be a concern about how that would work. So, I mean, I don't think that the last 2 games would dissuade me from using the franchise tag on him. And if I have to keep him because I can't trade him, I don't think that those last 2 games would dissuade me from doing that if I was Minnesota. But I mean, I would be very excited if he ends up not getting tagged.
Anything from the Senior Bowl this week really catch your fancy, Jared? Have you been carefully tracking the blocking sleds and whatnot?
I didn't go to the Senior Bowl, so I don't.
Well, I know you didn't go. I mean, you listen to Boston sports radio all day too. You don't go to Boston for it. What? I mean, you haven't been following along with the Senior Bowl?
With the Senior Bowl, I mean, I don't know if you guys learned this last year, but the great Rand Carthon told us that going to the Senior Bowl was not important, and so
you taking your cues from him.
But hey, they're all down there this year still. It's been an about face.
If you know, they've taken everybody down there this year. I mean, there was one little video on Twitter of Brinker Borgonzi, Dave Ziegler, Callahan, and Denard Wilson all walking together on the field at the Senior Bowl. And I'm like, what happened to last year when we can watch the tape of the Senior Bowl whenever the Senior Bowl doesn't matter. Jared, you're just a hater. You hate Rand. You're a racist. That's why. I'm like, okay. I haven't paid any attention to the Senior Bowl. I'm not going to lie. You know, TD said the guys he liked. I'll just, you should cut that, play that. I mean, I got to tell you, I really thought I was going to sit down and watch this East-West Bowl last night. I probably watched about 5 minutes and I couldn't take it anymore.
I'm glad.
Again,
that actually makes me very happy that you turned that thing off.
I'm sorry. I just can't. I don't. Just give me the summary and then we'll go from there.
Again, Jared can't go 5 minutes without Jared, yeah. Like you got that voice in your head. Jared, no, you're wrong, Jared.
I think it's his YouTube chat voice. It's the YouTube chat voice. The YouTube chat was all over Jared for a lot of the offseason. It did happen.
YouTube chat's always on my ass. I mean, the YouTube chat.
There's some Rand love on the YouTube chat.
I mean, it was wild to me, for how long it was about the whole Jared, you don't know. And first of all, I wasn't claiming to know anything about Rand. Like, I didn't know if Rand was going to get fired or not until probably, Joe, when did I tell you Rand was getting fired? Like the Saturday before he got fired? I was like, yeah, Rand's getting fired.
Now, wait a minute. According to according to the Brinker, he didn't find out till Monday night, right?
That's true.
How did Brinker not know until Monday night? That's crazy. Callahan talked on Monday. Well, there's all this conjecture. That's amazing that it was just known out in the public, and those guys had no clue. Weird.
Yeah.
But we've talked so much about the suits.
I mean, just remember who called you on Saturday and said, Joe, I'm pretty sure Carthon's getting fired.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm here, Carthon's getting fired. And I love it every time that you guys bring that up to Paul and he gets all defensive about it. He's like, hey, got things wrong too. Like, yeah, but I didn't say everybody was coming back, Paulie, did I?
Are you still, but that's a fair point. Are you still sticking with Brinker wants Callahan fired? He's smiling at his face, but he wants him fired?
I do believe that Brinker wanted to fire the coach. Yes.
Okay. All right.
Well, every segment you have should be revolve around that, you know?
Well, I mean, the thing that I found to be ridiculous last week was, when Paul was in for Robby, because Robby was on his deathbed apparently.
Yes.
And Paul just went freaking bananas about how I said, like, look, last year, this was a collaborative group. This was, Brian, we want you right here telling us who you want, what kind of players you want. Rand, we want you to go work with Brian to find the players Brian wants. I'm telling you right now, that's not what this is this year. Like, Brian Callahan's opinion could not matter less. I mean, I am telling you, like, I know that if they take a quarterback with the first pick, it will not be scheme dependent on a coach, which to me is translation for, we're not taking a quarterback for Brian Callahan. We're taking a quarterback for us, and then we want Brian Callahan to coach him if we take a quarterback. And then, again, I think there's a difference between, hey, we're not really relying on the coach's input when we make draft picks as compared to they're going to draft players the coach hates, which is what Paul said that I said, which I didn't say. But I don't think Brian Callahan's opinion matters at all, really, on the personnel front, especially the higher end personnel.
That's pretty dumb, Jared. Come on.
I'm just telling you, like,
this is your bro hug analysis.
I am telling you, like, again, do you think that if I said something as exact as they are not going, if they draft a quarterback, they are not going to draft a quarterback who is scheme dependent on any one coach? Like, you think I'm just making that up?
No, I would also hope you're not drafting a quarterback number 1 overall that's scheme dependent.
Exactly.
On anybody.
Who does that, Jared? I mean, scheme dependent. What? Tell me the draft picks where it's like, oh no, this guy doesn't fit our. If you're a great quarterback, they will draft you and they will fit their scheme to you. That's what smart people do.
You cannot put Lamar Jackson into Tom Brady's scheme and expect Lamar Jackson to have success.
What you did was you brought Lamar Jackson into a very different scheme, and then when he got the job, you changed the scheme around him. That's what teams do. Like I just said, that's what smart people do.
That's what good teams do.
Okay.
Yes.
I mean, we have to, again, Joe, for some reason, like the other day, and I truly thought that, and Caroline didn't say this, but I should have won Jared versus Joe. Simply off Joe making some comment like, Jared, you think NFL teams just sit around with their fingers in their butts all day doing nothing? I was like, the New York Jets pick players based off of Madden football. We have to remember that there are teams that are incompetent in this league. And quite frankly, you're one of them. So when it comes to the idea scheme, I actually talked to a general manager, like 6 weeks ago. And I said, why do all these quarterbacks fail so badly? These guys don't all suck coming out of college. And he said, because a lot of times the coaches try to get the quarterbacks to do what they coach and not focus on what the quarterback is capable of doing. I think that happens far more often than you think, where, a coach thinks that he's got the perfect scheme and it tells the quarterback, we're going to run my scheme because my scheme is a great scheme. You will see. And I think at times it hurts the quarterback. I still contend that if Jeff Fisher had the foresight or the ability to do what John Harbaugh has done with Lamar Jackson and build the offense around Vince Young, there's a much better chance that Vince Young could have been successful than what ended up happening with Vince Young, because Vince Young was an unbelievable talent as a rookie. But instead of, hey, we're going to really put a scheme around you, they tried to put him into Norm Chow's Matt Leinart USC scheme. and that was never going to work.
Got a little spicy between you and Hal Gill yesterday on the UC Saros front, huh?
I hope he set you straight. He's actually awesome this year. UC.
Saros?
Yeah.
Yeah, with his 8.99
teammates
save
think
percentage.
he's awesome.
That's what we heard.
So I got to tell you, what drives me insane about the Predators is kind of the sacred cowism that comes with UC Saros. And he kind of feels like the way the Predators treat UC Saros. And I'm talking about the general manager and the players and the organization. And it's the way the YouTube chat was treating Rand Carthon, where every single time something bad happened, it was never Rand's fault. Anytime the Predators lose anything, it is never the goalie's fault.
To be
And
fair,
yet-
that is a hockeyism too. Like no one, right? I mean, to some extent, it's a hockey thing, right? It's never on the goal. It's always we could have done better. Everybody does that, right?
Yeah, but I mean, like, again, just the amount of defense from everybody. Like Willie and Chris Mason this offseason, when the entire radio station outside of Willie and Derek wanted to trade the goalie, Willie and Chris Mason were like, you guys don't understand how elite Saros is. And I'm like, if he's so elite, why do they never win? Well, you don't understand. And now he's got an 8.99 save percentage. They go to Anaheim, who stinks. He gives up 50 goals in the game. I mean, it's a freaking joke. What happened is, and Robby, I worry about this with the Packers a little bit, because the Packers brand is, we draft and develop our quarterbacks. And they moved on to Jordan Love, and Jordan Love had that great end of the 23 season, and boom, $55 million for Jordan Love. Now, Jordan Love's pretty good, but, is Jordan Love really a top of the league starter? $55 million, you can give it to him right there, but it's because they wanted to. It's like they wanted to be like, we're on to our next guy, and he's our guy. It's why the Steelers won't move on from Mike Tomlin, because no matter what, it's like, hey, I know that our team has no chance of winning any good games, and we cratered down the stretch, but, I mean, our brand with the Steelers is that we never fire coaches. And I am convinced the Predators brand is we always have elite goaltending. But this guy is not elite. This guy is not Pecorine. If this guy was elite, this team would not stink as bad as they do. He leads the league in losses. Again, what sport are you elite at when you lead the league in losses in what you do? No quarterback who leads the NFL in losses is elite.
Now you're
Like,
over blaming him, but I hear what you're saying, but you're over blaming a little bit here.
But I'm tired of the constant excuses. Like, you don't go on 8-game losing streaks and 5-game losing streaks and all these losing streaks they went on this year if you've got an elite goaltender who you've signed your life away to, which they have, because at some point the goalie steals a game that keeps you from losing 8 in a row. So this guy never steals the big game. He never wins in the playoffs. And yet the Predators are like, oh, no, he's an elite goalie, and you will see. And I'm like, he got the starting job in 2020. It is 2025. He has got a save percentage under 9 right now, which to me is the Mendoza line for goalies. If you're under 9, you stink. So he's never won a playoff series. They're the worst team in the league, or right there, tracking to be one of the worst teams in the league. And I'm just sick and tired of watching him suck. And then I'm sick and tired of watching him lose games for the Predators and then getting finger wagged by everybody saying, you don't understand the game. It's not his fault. It's everybody in front of him's fault. Well, then let's not pay him the money. Let's pay everybody in front of him the money so that we can just stick Kevin Lankinen back there, or stick the other juice back there, who I think might even be better right now than Saros. Stick him back there and pay the $8 million to everybody else.
Jared Stillman. That's some good stuff there. I like it. Jared, thanks for being with us. We'll be listening at 2:00.
Boys, take care.
You don't understand, Jared.
Stillman, our guest here on the program. We'll react to what Stillman had to say there. Andrew Brunette will be with us at 7:30. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Check out Nashville's best deal this week. It's Single Tree Barbecue in Murfreesboro. Single Tree Barbecue, a local veteran-owned and operated business, only serving world-class barbecue with the perfect combinations of sides and desserts. Get half off a $25 gift card while supplies last at thegamenashville.com/deals. Appreciate Stilly for being with us in the last segment. We'll have Andrew Brunette coming up at 7:30 here on the program. Still got fired up on the UC Saros debate there with Hal Gill yesterday and then on our program just a few minutes ago.
Yeah, got some reaction. Texter says, I love Jared talking hockey, the most off-base takes. I'm going to say I don't think he was off-base. I think Jared with goalies and quarterbacks gets a little bit too into the, it's like the quarterbacks are playing against each other.
Yeah.
I mean, record matters, but it is not a quarterback stat. Goal, the losses thing. I'm more concerned with the performance, but the performance also says, obviously, as we've talked about this week, that it's just not good enough right now from UC Saros.
Yeah, look, he played great the other night against Vancouver. It's good to see. It was good to see him come back and play well. I do think, and this has been a Predators thing, and it's certainly a league-wide thing, I think, to some degree. There's been way too much of, it can't possibly be the goalie's fault over the years. I agree with Jared on that. Like, every now and then, it's the goalie's fault. Like, every now and then, the goalie that you're paying a lot of money needs to step up, stop the puck. Like, there's a lot of that sometimes gets swept under the rug. Look, Eric on the text line brings up first 40 games, Predators were 2.8 goals per game, last in the league. Sheesh, terrible take. He was elite when they sucked, and now they're scoring, and he's in a slump. It's such a lazy take. Well, even that, I heard Willie talking about that the other day on DVD with Adam. Like, Adam pulled some numbers since basically mid-November when they played Winnipeg. And whether you want to go by traditional stats or goals saved above expected, like, he's one of the worst goalies in the league since then, just by the numbers. And before that, his numbers were really good, which is great. He definitely is in a slump right now. But again, they're getting ready to pay him 8 years for, almost $8 million per year.
And they have paid. I mean, they are paying him.
Yeah, and it's a fully guaranteed contract. You don't pay that to be off for half the year, right? Like, he was off for half the year a year ago, which is why they struggled out of the gate. Like, they had, they had a system change with a first-year head coach in Brunette. There's a lot of things that went into that. But Saros was a big part of last season, why they struggled out of the gate. And then, to his credit, he figured it out, along with the rest of the team, figuring some things out, and that's why they went on their run in the second half of the year. Like, right now, for the last couple of months, he's been bad. And regardless of what you think about whether or not he's, truly in decline, that's a different discussion. One thing that, to me, is not debatable, they're not paying him all this money to be bad for 2 months out of the year. Like, he's got to get it figured out. He's got to play better than he's played the last couple of years here on a more consistent basis.
No question. Mr. G says Jared exaggerates everything. Yeah. But he is correct that the other juice is playing better than this juice.
Right now he is, yes.
He is. So it's an interesting point there by Jared on the whole branding thing. This is what we do. This is what we are. I mean, is it, the Steelers comparison? Is that why the Steelers haven't fired? I think the Steelers haven't fired Mike Tomlin because their roster is more the issue than he is. But there is that. They love that. It's an incredible. Think about that. They have had 3 coaches in 50 years. Yep. That's insane. The Preds have had, the Preds, Pecorine was an elite goaltender. Yeah. They've been very good in that in their history. Yeah. But I don't know. I look, I think that maybe the Preds I think it's more like, I think the Preds in general sometimes are a little bit too, I'm trying to think of the right word. They're just too damage control-y at times, where it's like, sometimes, things aren't going well, man. Yeah. And I think that goes beyond goaltender.
I'd agree.
And so, I just think, but again, there is also the hockey thing here, which is absolutely, I've never heard a hockey player say, yeah, I mean, if our goaltending was a little bit better, we'd we'd be all right.
Like-
It's all cost. You protect your goalie. You never criticize your goalie. It's never the goalie's fault. That's a hockey thing.
I watched Alex Georgiev one time for Colorado play one of the worst goaltending games I've ever seen, and went in the Colorado room after, and they're like, "Yeah, we hung him out to dry tonight." I was like, well, "Not really. Like, he kind of just couldn't make a save. Like, it's kind of we all saw it. Sometimes it's okay just to like you don't even necessarily have to call your goalie out, but just like don't say we hung him out to dry. Didn't really happen."
And even coaches, I mean, here and there, a coach will acknowledge, yeah, there's one he'd like back.
Yeah.
That's about as far as I've heard criticism go. Yeah, he'd like that one back.
Speaking of coaches, we'll have Andrew Brunette coming up next. We'll get his thoughts.
We'll get him
play at
ripping
UC
sorrows
Soros.
here.
This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. Robby and Rexrode brought to you by First Horizon, Big Bank Muscle, Small Bank Hustle. Visit firsthorizon.com/get-it-all. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser here with you on this Friday morning. We head to our 1025 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and welcome in Predators head coach Andrew Brunette. Andrew, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, guys. Doing good.
I appreciate you taking time to be with us. A little bit more of a crowded trip for you guys this weekend with the dads joining along. What's it like having all the fathers around for the father's trip?
Yeah, it's pretty unique, actually. Yeah, no, it's crowded, but it's unique. I was very fortunate to be part of the first one back in '98 with David and Barry. We had the first father's trip, and I think it's caught on. And it's a great experience, I think, for everybody involved, and to be a part of. I've been lucky enough to be a part of. Must be a dozen or so of them, and each one is pretty special. So I think you're excited to see the dads, and dads are excited to see their kids, and it's a pretty cool thing to do.
Andrew, we've been talking about UC Saros. Obviously, he's not playing the best hockey of his career right now. Just wondering from your perspective, where he is. Would you say he's in a slump right now? Or are you concerned long term about him?
No, I think he's, I think probably we talked about a little bit earlier in the week. Maybe it wasn't his best hockey for a couple of weeks there. I thought he was outstanding the other night. I thought he was, obviously the one goal in Anaheim, but the rest of the game, he kind of gave us a chance. And I'm not concerned at all. I think, especially when you see his body of work and what he's done, and previous to my time, but even when I've been here, he's one of the best goalies in the league, and not concerned at all. And it was great to see him. You can't even say rebound, but I just love his battle back. I think with how competitive he is, the first goal in Anaheim, and then the rest of the game, he was lights out. And I thought he was lights out and give us a chance on Tuesday or Wednesday, to win a hockey game. So he's not concerned at all.
Bruno, on that front, as it relates to goalie, you got obviously Ananen has come in. His numbers since joining you guys have been really, really good. And I don't think a lot of Predators fans knew a ton about him when the trade was made. But what have you learned about him, kind of his makeup, and just the way that he's played for you guys in net since the trade?
Yeah, I think he's been really calm. I think you don't know from. I saw him in Colorado a little bit. I guess you're thinking Colorado is such a good team. You're not sure what you're getting, and he's come in and he's been outstanding. He's really competitive. He's a great teammate. You even see him on the bench the nights he's not playing. He's cheering guys on, and when he's in that, a little bit like his personality, he's very calming. He's a big guy. Things seem to hit him. You never feel panicked, and he's been put in some tough situations, as a lot of backups are, and he's gone in and he's been great. I even look back at some of the games he's gone in, and even when we pulled Juice the one game he came in, he was just very calming, and he never felt like even if he let one in, he just felt he stayed the same. So he's been a great surprise. I think Benny and his group's done a great job with him, and I'm looking forward to see him kind of grow as a player here.
Do you? I know he's gotten a little bit more work. Do you feel like you'd like to split things a little bit more? And is that something that could help Saros too, just to get a little bit? I mean, obviously, a guy who's had 60+ games, starting in recent years, to get a little bit more rest through the course of a season.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. I think we feel really comfortable with the big Juice, and with a little Juice. I think maybe a little rest. I think, especially where we're at right now, we're trying to figure some things out. And, Juice has the Four Nations, little Juice has the Four Nations Cup here coming, and, he's going to play some hockey. So we're going to have to rely on both of them. And we're in the world of day to day, and let's just see where we're at. But yeah, I think long term we'll make those decisions.
So Andrew, you guys have reshaped your defense core this season, obviously with the Carrier trade, and we know the guys that have come in. What have you made overall of kind of the adjustment that you guys as a staff have had to make your defense core with guys like Barron and Willsby joining the fold throughout the year? And then you combine that with some of the injuries you guys have had on the back end. What do you make of kind of where you are right now defensively?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of a work in progress. Obviously, we've lost some pretty big pieces back there through injuries, and we lost Carr and we lost McDonough and we lost some guys, and we're trying to piece it together. I think it's given us a little bit, I think if you look at the back end, we're probably a little bit more mobile than normally, where maybe a little more transitionally quicker and maybe a little bit more offensive. Lost a little bit of the big body. Lowe's is such an important part of our team and really our identity with his physicality and his ability to play a different brand of hockey and his size. And, him and Carr complement each other really well. So we kind of lost that, pretty much our shutdown pair. So we're moving other pieces in. And I think doing that, we've become, maybe a little bit quicker transitionally and maybe lost a little bit of that physicality, identity pieces. So we're trying to piece it together. I think it's a little bit of a work in progress, but they all bring something different. Even you throw Blankenberg in there, I think he's been really good since he's come up. Willsby's shown signs that he could be, a really good NHL defenseman. Barron, obviously the offensive part, we got to work on a little bit on the other side of the puck. So they're fun pieces to work with. They brought us maybe a little bit different identity back there. And, I think we're trying to figure that out.
I know you've said it won't be too long, I think, before Luke Evangelista comes back. When he does come back, what do you want to see from him? How important is the rest of this season for him, Andrew?
I think it's important. I mean, I think for any young player, especially the success he had last year, and then started this year, and there's some adjustments and some changes that have happened with our team, and probably lost a little bit of his role at different times, and kind of lost his game a bit. So I think coming back in, it's going to be really important for him to kind of get back in. And, there's still lots of hockey left. There's a great opportunity here for him to grab it. And I'm looking forward. I know he wants it. He's a very confident young kid, and he wants more. And there's an opportunity here for him to grab it. And I'm looking forward to when he gets back. I don't know if it'll be tonight or tomorrow, but it'll be pretty soon.
On the Svechkov front, we've talked with you about, the speed that he can generate coming up the middle, the size that I think he's naturally got here that has been impressive to watch. What do you think you've learned, I guess, about him that sticks out the most in terms of what you feel like he can be for you guys, both for the remainder of this season and long-term moving forward?
Yeah, he's exciting. He's been an exciting, especially since his, the first time as a young kid coming in, I thought he had a really couple good games and he kind of slipped, and he went back to the American League, and Carl and his staff did a really good job, and they've done a great job with him, and he's come back and he's grabbed it, and he's much more comfortable. And every game, every practice, you're out there with him, you're pretty impressed, and he seems to get better every game he plays. So it's an exciting piece, I think, through the middle of the ice with his speed and his reach and his length. And he's very responsible on the other side of the puck. So he's an exciting prospect for sure. He's played really well. Their line's probably been our best line here of the last stretch of games. So we're, hoping he could continue to grow. And it's fun to watch him play with, the younger players coming in, Zach and Tommy Novak's been, kind of going here the last little bit. So they've been a fun line to be around and to watch.
All right. Who have you got in the Super Bowl? Are you sick of the Chiefs too?
I was kind of hoping for the Bills, obviously from Ontario.
For Pete, if nothing else, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. Exactly. I've had Philly and a different pool, so kind of rooting for them, but it's fun to watch greatness. I mean, I think, we take advantage of, or, we forget how these teams, and then when they're gone and you kind of miss them. So to watch Mahomes play is pretty special and pretty unique. So I think, it's hard to think they're not going to win, but it should be a great game. I'm looking forward to it, as I do every Super Bowl and every football game. So I kind of root for the Chiefs, even though I have the Eagles.
There you go, Andrew. Great stuff, man. I really appreciate you taking time to be with us. Enjoy the Father's Trip. Good luck tonight, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, guys. See you soon.
Absolutely. Andrew Brunette, our guest here on Robby and Rexrode. Probably the smart money there. I mean, he's got the Chiefs winning the game. It's hard to, pick against that.
But no, he said he's kind of rooting for the Chiefs,
but he's rooting for the Chiefs.
The Eagles go. And I'm with him on that. It's like I wanted the Bills to win, but now it's like, yeah, I'll take the history. I'll take the greatness. We should appreciate greatness while we're watching it.
I'll take the game being canceled. That's what I'll take.
Well, you're going to be on the teacups anyway. Who cares? You don't care.
That's true. 615-737-1025, our phone number. The Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025-1063, the game.
Sometimes he wakes up on the wrong side of the bed. And sometimes he's just, well, Joe.
Awkward moment. Let's do it.
This is the Rex Rant, now on Robby and Rexrode.
What's up? This is Scott Stapp from Creed, and you're listening to Robby and Rexrode on 102.5 The Game. Okay. Did I say Rexrode right?
Rexrode.
Rexrode. Okay, let me do that
No
again.
worries.
What's up? This is Scott Stapp from Creed, and you're listening to Robby and Rexrode on 102.5 The Game.
It is that time of the day. Time for the Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode. Not Rexrode. You can check it out every day here on the program. Joseph, the floor is yours.
Haley's no worries is
No worries.
will forever be one of my favorite things ever. Fantastic. So I feel like, sometimes I don't have enough rants, but then I end up doing multiple things. I'm kind of becoming a little bit of a multi-ranter.
Yes, you are.
Right? So first of all, let me just get to this text. And this is someone who just mostly trolls us, and I usually don't read this person's text, but I will go ahead and read this to blast it. It says, you shouldn't be giving opinions of players if you have no interest in the Senior Bowl. A lot of our players come from the Senior Bowl. It's about putting small school players against better competition to get better evals. It's critical, all caps. It's how guys like Puka Nacua get drafted. All caps again. Bad take. So, you know how, first of all, I'm wrong all the time. So, again, always want to have that as a disclaimer. I'm wrong about players all the time. So are you. So are all these people who get paid millions and wear suits and go to these things and harumph all day and then watch them in the blocking drills and think they know something and then they're totally wrong. But I evaluate players by watching them play football. I know it's a crazy idea. There's this awesome thing called college football in which players play the game of football. Try it. Thanks for your text.
They could actually be tackled. It's great.
I know. Isn't that wild? But I wanted to talk also today a little bit about the University of Michigan.
Okay.
I don't know if you've caught this week, but they have a response. They sent their response to the notice of allegations.
Oh, I've not seen this.
Oh, it's pretty funny, man. It's pretty funny. And I have no idea. Again, I don't know. I've kind of been skeptical that there's going to be some. I mean, they already have a show cause for Harbaugh. He's already, he's already toddled off to the NFL. The funny thing about Harbaugh, so you missed all the Brett Bielema stuff this week too?
I saw the Brett Bielema tweet that you sent me, but I did not, I guess, put two and two together as to what it was referenced to.
Yeah, so that was a reference to their response, and Bielema's been tweeting all week like, oh, yeah, that's why you left, huh? But again, I just, like, their response is basically like, one of the responses is, unless, here's one. So, it reset the universities, and I'm reading Matt Hayes. Matt Hayes wrote a good column at USA Today. He says university says it respects confidential sources. The NCAA can only present evidence and infractions from Connor Stallion's scouting scheme based on, quote, information that can be attributed to individuals who are willing to be identified. That's definitely going to make it tougher to do that. And then, of course, we have the amazing stuff, which is, Sharon Moore, the head coach, deleting 52 texts.
Yeah.
52 texts between himself and Stalions on the day that the scheme was uncovered, right? And so Michigan's response is he was so angry that Stalions was credited for all the work that he angrily deleted all the texts. It's fantastic.
Good sales job.
But Matt Hayes, one thing about this column, and basically the column is like Michigan exposed is just a common cheat, I will say, though, I mean, I know people forget it, but you go back to like 2008, 2009 probably, maybe 9, 10 in there. I mean, Rexrode got nailed at Michigan for, like, they were running full practices with coaches. I mean, they're totally cheating, Now, if you're a fan of the team or him, you're like, yeah, a little bit extra stretching in the NCAA. But, I mean, like, there are rules about coaches actually coaching off-season workouts for a reason. And let's not pretend like they haven't cheated before. But it is pretty funny here. Again, I don't know if and if you saw the Connor Stalions, you never saw the Connor Stalions doc, did you?
No, I did. I ended up
okay.
watching, yeah.
I mean, you come away from that thinking what?
I mean, come on.
Yeah, come on, man. I mean, it's my friends just really like college football. We are college football fans, and we just happen to send them to Georgia, which is a team that we might have played in the play. But they're really good. We just like Georgia football. We just wanted to check out between the hedges. I mean,
really good friends with Shane Beamer.
Yeah, I mean, they got caught cheating. We'll see. Ohio State Ohio State Twitter is convinced that the big hammer's coming. And I still have my doubts, but I will say that like their response to this is definitely, it reads of someone who's guilty, but also maybe a little bit concerned.
Yeah.
Because again, this is the head coach of their team who directly deleted the 52 texts with Connor Stallions. I mean, there is a little bit of a direct link here to the leadership of the program.
Yeah, it's
interesting stuff.
It is interesting stuff. It's if you missed the documentary, that's on Netflix, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. If you missed the Netflix documentary, I would encourage you to check that
It's
out.
good.
But just the whole thing is just wow. Then what was he doing this year? Wasn't he coaching high school football this year?
Yes, he was actually
Like somewhere in Michigan.
Yeah, 2 different high schools, and actually
It's D-Mace's alumni.
Is it?
Actually, yeah,
Well,
he's
well, he was at Mumford.
Oh, he's not there anymore.
Well, then he went to, I think, Belleville, and Belleville is the high school. And again, like that's what's funny. If it was pre-NIL, people would really be going nuts because it's the high school of Bryce Underwood who flipped from LSU to Michigan.
Yeah.
But now it's like, well, yeah, Michigan can just pay him.
Yeah.
But maybe he was like, hey, man, get that Connor Stalions personality, or maybe he did a little bit of mind trick. I mean, this guy's like a CIA agent.
He's an absolute weapon out there.
Seriously.
It's unbelievable. One texter says, Joe, you don't know ball even when they play real football. Never forget you thought Milton would go before the 5th round with a crying, laughing emoji face.
Did I say before 5th? I think I said by the 5th.
I think you said 5th or before.
Yeah, I said 5th or before. Where'd he go?
I think the 6th.
Okay.
What the hell is wrong with that?
Listen, that is not your best example of me not knowing ball, okay? I can give you a million of them, including Ryan Leaf, superstar. Peyton's pretty good, but Ryan Leaf, superstar in the NFL. Okay, let's start there. So that's fine. I mean, I'm if you want to call me a ball non-knower, then that's fine.
You called years ago that NWI was going to be wide receiver 2 for the Titans, and here we are. That's what he was all year.
But I'm not taking credit for that. I was told by someone in the building they loved him, and I wrote it. And then Carr, you owe the fans an apology.
Maybe he owes people an apology.
Yeah, where's my apology from him for saying I owe the fans an apology?
That's the most important free agent for them to retain this offseason.
Seriously, right? This person says, I still think everyone was doing what Michigan was doing. It only got uncovered because Ryan Day was tired of getting his ass kicked, and I can't stand Michigan men. Yeah, everybody wasn't doing what Connor Stallions was doing. It was a freaking full-on Navy SEAL
operation.
I mean, everyone was not doing that. I promise you, okay? This was extraordinary, which is why the Big Ten suspended Harbaugh and was like, guys, I mean, read the Big Ten statement again from then. It's like, this is insane, basically. What are we doing? They suspended a coach in the middle of the season. He had to go to a judge to try to coach a game. You know how toothless these people are? They never punish anyone. But we act like that just doesn't mean anything.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. Teron Davenport will join us next. We'll get his thoughts on what's been a busy week for him. The East-West Shrine Bowl, the Senior Bowl. TD has seen a lot of prospects this week. We'll get his thoughts on that. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
ESPN's Teron Davenport, talking Titans now on Robby and Rexrode on ESPN 102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
It is that time of the week here on Robby and Rexrode, sponsored by First Horizon, Big Bank Muscle, Small Bank Hustle. Visit firsthorizon.com/get-it-all. We head to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and welcome in our friend Teron Davenport, ESPN NFL Nation Titans reporter, host of Talking with TD. TD, been a busy week for you, my friend. How we doing?
Yeah, no, a busy 2 weeks, man. It all caught up with me today. Well, I woke up this morning and they say, time to pay the piper.
Hey, man. That's what happens when you're a hardworking man. TD's just out there getting stuff done over the last couple of weeks. You got to appreciate it.
This is the way.
So, TD, I want to start with you on edge rusher because everybody, obviously, between now and the draft is going to talk about Abdul Carter and pay attention to Abdul Carter, and deservedly so. But I'm curious if anybody else in this process has really caught your eye at that spot, maybe somebody you've seen at the Senior Bowl, maybe not, maybe it's somebody else in kind of the evaluation process here. But how do you feel about this class in general in terms of edge rusher?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Abdul Carter, that's the cream of the crop. But you look at some of the other guys down there in Mobile at the Senior Bowl, Shamar Stewart, he just, at that size and the get off that he has was really, really impressive. And I like how, he's violent, you know what I mean? So he can set that edge, but he also will get to the quarterback quickly. He has a variety of moves too. He showed them down there. Landon Jackson out of Arkansas is another one. He's just like a high motor guy. Think stylistically, Trey Hendrickson. One of those guys that just like he'll get sacks. After going hard for like 3.5, almost 4 seconds. And then he finally gets the quarterback down. That's how Landon Jackson is. So those are a couple guys. Kyle Kennard out of South Carolina is intriguing. Like, he's a heavy-handed guy that, will set the edge as well, and he'll get you sacks. So there were a bunch of them down there, though. I mean, it was a really, really good class, a good group in the trenches down there in Mobile.
How about at receiver, TD? We've talked about Burden before, certainly. I know Book from Ohio State kind of gets overshadowed because Ohio State always has multiple guys, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, that guy's really good too. How deep do you think this class is, and anybody jumping out at you there? I know, well, Dante Thornton has done some things. Anybody down there that really has caught your eye? Yeah,
well, I tell you what, I got to stop at Exos in Plano, Texas, while I was at the Shrine Week last week, and I saw Luther Burden training. One of the other guys that was training with him though was Matthew Golden, and he's someone that you're going to see start to creep up. Well, not start to. He's already done it. He's at that top of the second round, bottom of the first, and if he runs well, watch out, and he will run well. Most of the guys from Exos do. So those are a couple guys. You look at Shrine Week. Will Shepherd. I mean, listen, Vandy to Colorado, and he went there. He was there with, LeJohntay Wester, Jimmy Horn Jr., obviously Travis Hunter. Not a lot of footballs to go around, but he still put up impressive numbers. And watching him there, I mean, he's a legit 6'3", 6'4". That size is it can be verified looking at him. He had a couple nice catches. I think you look at the Shrine Week, Jacory Brooks, out of Louisville, a beautiful route. He runs his route that reminds me of Stevie Johnson, the way he runs his route. So we think back to the Bills days, You look at the Senior Bowl, there were a variety of guys. Pat Bryant, a big, sturdy receiver, really good releases, catches the ball in traffic. You look at him, Jaden Ivey, he was another one that was impressive. So there were a lot of receivers, and I think this is going to be a good opportunity to grab somebody late.
So, TD, we had Charles Robinson on our show yesterday, and he talked about how, from some people he's talked to, would not be surprised if Jackson Dart out of Ole Miss and potentially Jalen Milroe out of Alabama could make some noise here and maybe creep up towards the first round in the draft. What do you make of, we talked so much about Sanders and Ward, and we're going to continue to, but what do you make of the quarterback class beyond those two, and how do you view a Jackson Dart or a Jalen Milroe in this process?
Yeah, well, every year it's like the Lion King, where they held Simba up to the sky and they say, you're the one. There's always every year they have a guy. Jackson Dart is the one this year. It was J.J. McCarthy last year. Excuse me. And it's just how it works, I was not impressed with Jackson Dart at all. That first day, neither I wasn't impressed with Milroe either. And the receivers down there, good thing they were able to create separation and show that, because they didn't have a lot of opportunities, at least especially that first day, to show that they could make catches. Because I video, it's on my ex. There were like 13 straight passes and one-on-ones. The ball hit the ground, and I was like, you know what, I'm done, and walked away and watched O-line, D-line. The best quarterback I've seen over the last 2 weeks is Kyle McCord out of Syracuse. He has a big arm. He's not going to, run for too many yards for you, anything like that. But he was very productive at Syracuse last year. And, he was the best one. But you talk overall, Will Howard, I was kind of disappointed he didn't participate, but I get it. He played very late, winning the national championship. Those are the two guys I would put in there for the third quarterback.
Yeah, that's really interesting, too, because obviously Ohio State moves on from McCord to get Will Howard. And a lot of the year I was like, I don't know if that was a good move. McCord was really good at Syracuse. Obviously, Will Howard ends up, winning it. But that is an interesting thought with those two guys. Yeah. Okay, here's another thought, TD, that a lot of people have thrown out there. The idea that, I think the Titans, one way or the other, they're going to address the offensive line. There's going to be a new offensive tackle, maybe via draft, maybe free agency, maybe both coming in. Do you think it's on the table that J.C. Latham, that after all this, they end up saying, you know what, he probably is still better on the right side, and they go look for a different left tackle? Or do you think that's just, fantasy football talk at this point?
No, I don't think it's fantasy football talk. Brian Callahan did say that J.C. is a left tackle, but I'm curious. Later in the process, I think that is a good thing to ask him. But here's the thing. Would you get a draft any of these left tackles high? And if you're not going to draft them high, I don't know that I would bring a rookie in and have JC flip. You know what I mean? I would say just go ahead and get you a right tackle. And one of the guys I will mention at the Senior Bowl, Carson Vincent out of Alabama A&M, shout out HBCUs. And he's a guy, actually, he had a rep against Shamar Stewart, and it was a really good one. They have a competition period at the end of practice, and they call him out, and they called he and Stewart out, and he, put him out the club. So he is somebody kind of along the lines of like a Titus Howard, like that type that you can take. He played left tackle, but you could flip him to right, and he could probably be productive for you.
TD, we all know, at some point here in this process, the Titans are going to have to find some help at receiver, and preferably from a younger guy. It doesn't necessarily have to be in the first round. But what do you make of a guy like Xavier Restrepo, who we've been asked about a lot this week out of Miami? What do you make of kind of the fit that he could be and what he could look like at the NFL level?
Yeah, I love that you bring him up. I talked to him for a while about playing the slot, and just creating that feel for space and understanding, where to settle into windows and stuff like that. And that dude has played a lot of football, you know what I mean? And he has a nice catalog of guys he told me he watched, ranging from Julian Edelman all the way to Jamar Chase. And I was like, okay, I like this, and he's someone, he's productive, very reliable. And he's a quarterback's best friend. But you do have him now, a couple other guys that, come right into play. When you mention a guy like Restrepo, you look at LeJontay Wester and the way he tempos his routes and, how he's able to create separation, his quickness. He's somebody, he's only like 180 pounds, but he's somebody that could work that middle of the field. You're not going to really get chances to hit him, but he'll get you yards after catch. And, both of those guys, you have to see him in the return game. And I'm going to wrap it up with Tez Johnson, when we're talking about Restrepo and those types. And that Oregon receiver, I don't care that he's 156 pounds. I do not care, because that little dude right there, he's going to catch it and he's going to go. And he's tough to cover. He was behind the corners down there consistently.
How much does he remind you of the kid from Louisville whose name is escaping me now, who went to the Rams? Tutu.
Comparison?
Comparison there?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you had that comparison because they're both like really frail guys, but they play bigger than their size.
So anyone else this week, TD, that just out of nowhere, you've been like, whoa, at whatever position it may be?
Just trying to think through here. That came out of nowhere. I was impressed with Ronnie Gatson Jr., the tight end out of Syracuse. Arroyo, the tight end out of Miami, ran routes really well. He was impressive. No, I mean, it was most of it was pretty much as advertised. You know, the guys you thought could play, they went down there and they played.
Well, TD, great stuff, man. Really appreciate you taking time to be with us. Get you some rest after a busy couple of weeks, and we'll talk to you next week.
Yeah, for sure. Appreciate you guys.
Absolutely. TD, our guest, joins us every Friday here on the program. We'll react to what TD had to say, get back into the Titans and the quarterback discussion as well. We've got Pred's Pick to Click coming later this hour. All that ahead. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. I got a family 4-pack of tickets to give away to the Athletes Unlimited professional basketball games at Municipal Auditorium on Wednesday, February the 5th. You get tickets to games 1 and 2, tip off at 5 o'clock. Get to see Alicia Clark, Sydney Colson, and more. 615-737-1025, our number. Caller number 3 will win a 4-pack of tickets to the Athletes Unlimited professional basketball games coming up Municipal on Wednesday, February the 5th. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Appreciate TD for being with us in the last segment. Joe, it's interesting. Everybody's going to focus in on, Abdul Carter at edge rusher. I do feel like for the first couple of rounds here, there's some pretty darn good depth as it relates to edge rusher. You've got James Pierce out of Tennessee. He brought up Landon Jackson out of Arkansas, Shamar Stewart out of A&M, the 2 Ohio State edge rushers that you got. Like, there's some pretty good depth as it relates to edge rusher here. So, obviously, if you draft Abdul Carter, that's one thing. If you don't, and you're either picking high in the second round or you trade back from number 1 and you end up with more picks, some potential opportunities here to walk away if you're the Titans with some difference makers at the edge rusher spot, which we know they desperately need. And look, maybe none of them are Abdul Carter, but I think a lot of them have a chance to be pretty high-level players in the NFL.
Yeah, no question. Yeah, Michael Williams. I was always, is it Michael or Michael? I think it's Michael Williams, right?
I believe you're correct.
And obviously, Pierce. I'm going back to the big board, back to the athletic big board, and those guys are the 2 that are right after. Abdul Pierce is 12th on the big board. So 3 of the top. Let me do some math. 25% of the top dozen players in this draft for this big board are edge guys, and then you have Jalen Walker from Georgia at 18. It's funny because I haven't thought about like Georgia really even the last year, especially this last year, as like having that kind of just absurd NFL talent, and yet here we are with 2 edges in the top 18 from Georgia. Mike Green from Marshall is definitely a guy who gets a lot of talk, and a lot of people are excited about him. This is what happens, and this is where the texter who sent the dumb text earlier, I do agree with the point that what the Senior Bowl and the East-West Round, what they can do is they can at least give you those guys from smaller conferences and say, okay, now go rep against, because your team didn't play. I don't know who Marshall played this year. I think so. They played Ohio State, actually. But, you didn't play the greatest competition week after week, so now go and get some reps against these guys. And there's some value in that, for sure. So there's Mike Green, and he's like 23 on this. Yeah, Sawyer, 37. Landon Jackson, 44. Yeah, and I love Tuiomalaau, and I may have butchered that, from Ohio State. I just think that guy, he's 45. Like, as a second-round possibility, I think he's really good. I just think he just makes plays, man. And the measurables sometimes don't. And it's Sawyer does too for Ohio State, by the way. And they're on loaded defenses, but there's the measurables, and then there's just the knack for like getting the ball out when you actually get your hands on the quarterback and things like that. Prince Uman Mielen from Ole Miss, and again, I may have butchered that. That's all. Those guys are all top 50 on our big board. So how many guys is that? A dozen?
That's a lot of guys. That's what I'm saying. Like, everybody talks about this not being a very good draft. I feel like it's a pretty good draft for edge rusher.
There's always some positions that are good, right? Then that may be one of the stronger ones.
Right. And look, when you break down every position, I would probably agree. Like, there have been some stronger drafts, but sometimes it just matters who you take. It doesn't matter what the draft class is like, right? Like, if the draft as a whole is weak,
if everybody else
takes the good players,
it
doesn't really matter if you're the Titans.
Terrible quarterback draft. Okay, but did you get the one great one? Then you win.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's what it kind of boils down to here. But I'm just saying, like, we all know they're going to have to address edge rusher, and it's going to have to come through the draft, in my opinion. So, I mean, you've got the opportunity to take Abdul Carter. I just don't think it has to be Abdul Carter to get somebody that can come in and help you. Like, look, I know that we watch a lot of Tennessee, but do you not think James Pierce can come in and help somebody in the NFL next year? I do. Like, I watched the Landon Jackson kid out of Arkansas a lot. That kid's good. Like, that kid could come in and help an NFL team next year. And look, there are going to be a couple of these guys that probably don't work out at the NFL level. Just statistically, that's how things go when it comes to the draft. And you're hoping that you do the best evaluation you can. You're hoping you're not one of them, and that, injuries don't sneak up on somebody, which it inevitably will in this draft. But I just feel like there are some guys that can be pretty good players at edge rusher in this league that are in this draft. And it doesn't necessarily just have to be Abdul Carter or bust at that spot.
Right. So I'm here for Abdul Carter. I like him a lot. Also, if it's first round, if it's quarterback, if it's first round quarterback, or that's the thing. It's like, how far do you move down? If you do move down and all that stuff. But bottom line is, if it comes down to the only way they're addressing edge is with their second round pick, I think they can address it very well. And I can't say that about a lot of other positions.
No, and look, I throw wide receiver in the positions that are interesting too. How many impact players are there? Like, first off, like, how good's Luther Burden? We talked a lot about Luther Burden. Like, is Luther Burden, does he have a chance to be like an elite wide receiver in the NFL? Does the Ted McMillan kid have a chance to be an elite wide receiver in the NFL? And when you move it into some of these guys who are projected to go either late first or early second, like the Restrepo kid out of Miami right now, he brought up Tez Johnson out of Oregon. Where those guys slot in terms of where they're going to go, and how many of those guys can come in and make impacts for you immediately? I mean, we've talked about their need for a young wide receiver. They're going to need whoever that is to be able to come in and play for you immediately next year, if they're taking one of those guys as high as I think they might.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I mean, there's no question. Well, hey, plenty of opportunity, plenty of at a lot of positions, plenty of opportunity on this team, more than others too. But that's the league too. I mean, those picks that high, they've got to be impact starters. And if pretty soon within that rookie season, if you don't have an impact starter, you probably messed it up.
Yeah. And their wide receiver core in general is going to be interesting. Like, I feel like there's a lot of work to do there this offseason. I mean, you've got Ridley under contract. Burks is hurt, but Burks at this point, like, even if he's completely healthy, I don't know how you could possibly view him as anything.
I'm actually amazed you brought him up.
Yeah, like, I honestly forgot he was there. And then I was like, oh, yeah, they do still have Treylon Burks under contract. But NWI is a free agent. Are you going to be able to successfully bring him back, or is like Vrabel going to sneak in and go get him? That's going to be interesting to see. But other than that, like, what's your room look like right now? Like, I don't think they're bringing Tyler Boyd back. You have some guys that you've had on the practice squad that I guess you could elevate, but it kind of feels like the whole room right now needs to be reshaped here. I mean, other than Ridley, obviously.
Well, an NWI. I mean, he should be.
He should be back
if you can. Yeah,
but I would still say he should not be your wide receiver 2.
No. Yeah, I agree. Wide receiver 2 needs to be there, but bumped down.
Even though he did a nice job this year.
He did
really good.
He did. Thank you for giving him his respect. But yeah, he needs to be. I would want him in the room for sure if I'm the Titans, and I'd want him on the field some. But yeah. Yes, there's got to be another. I mean, at edge and receiver and tackle, there needs to be a prominent name in all of those three, whether it be free agency or draft
and quarterback.
That too. That like starts, comes right in and is starting and then making a huge. So can you make those 4 positions happen with like difference making starters in one off season?
Maybe that's what I was doing. We talked about the show open to begin the show of how like it just sounds like I'm reading off the depth chart of positions.
All the bad positions.
Edge rusher, right tackle.
Am I just reading off all the positions the Titans need?
Yeah.
Probably a long segment doing that one.
Everything but special teams coach. Yes.
Who's going to be the Titans kicker next year? Maybe spend 30 minutes on that with this offseason too.
Logan Winters on the YouTube chat says Treylon Burks is the worst football player that ever put on a pair of shoulder pads. I don't think it's quite that extreme, but it's a little bit tough. Yeah, the Cooper Kupp stuff out there, huh? I mean, he'll be somewhere else, but man, I feel like that guy has been beaten to a pulp. Kind of looks like it, doesn't it?
It does.
Usually when that happens,
it would be a very Titans thing to sign like Cooper Kupp, and then he comes in here and gives you 5 games and catches 6 passes. Be good.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it would be. It would.
I will say
follow
though, we
franchise
talked
history.
about the veteran franchise, the veteran wide receiver franchise curse that this place was under for a while. Like Hopkins was pretty good.
He was.
Hopkins
He
was pretty
broke
good.
that. He broke that.
615-737-1025. Our phone number. We'll have more on the Titans coming up next. Pred's Pick the Click coming up at 8:45. All that ahead. Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5-1063 The Game. Robby and Rexrode brought to you by First Horizon, Big Bank Muscle, Small Bank Hustle. Visit firsthorizon.com/get-it-all. We are live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. We got Pred's Pick to Click coming up here in about 15 minutes. Right now, taking your thoughts on the Titans, 615-737-1025. Trevor on the text line says, if the Titans can't find a trade partner to move back, who are you taking on a non-quarterback pick? Who'd be the guy if they stick and pick and say they get a quarterback in free agency that you take?
It's actually a really hard question for me right now because I keep warming to the idea of Abdul Carter. But, I think Travis Hunter, that's just – again, there's people in the NFL and analysts and whatever who disagree with me and think that Hunter needs to be a receiver. I feel like that's a pretty healthy debate with a lot of people on both sides of it. I feel like he's a corner and a great corner and an occasional receiver. And I still could make the case that, if Abdul Carter is that good, that much of a difference maker, elite corner, elite receiver, elite edge rusher, I would put corner third. It's just a question of, okay, but how elite? If it's truly that Abdul Carter is elite as a pass rusher, it'd be hard to pass him up.
I agree.
So I might be drifting that way. I want to address the YouTube chat real quick because I'm getting beat up because I used to trash Deshaun Watson and all this stuff. There's all this stuff about Justin Tucker. Did you see that today?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. Looks bad. It's one newspaper. We'll see what happens. Doesn't look good, but obviously he put out a statement, an impassioned statement defending himself and saying it's all BS and kind of laying out how the paper didn't do things the right way in terms of trying to get his comment and telling him what the story's about. So we'll see. But obviously that's the Watson stuff, to be clear. And who is this? I got to make sure that I name this person. This is John on the YouTube chat, was like, well, you had all these opinions about Watson. And the Watson stuff, it was Jenny Vrentas of the New York Times when she had the very detailed that took forever reporting on the stalking, right? Like the number
So real
of
quickly,
people.
let's just lay out what the Justin Tucker stuff was that came out.
Yeah, that's a good
those who
idea.
may have missed it.
That's a good idea.
So, Tucker so you bring up Deshaun Watson. We all know what's going on with Deshaun Watson and the massage stuff. Was it the Baltimore Banner? Is that the right
Baltimore
newspaper?
Banner.
Baltimore Banner has laid it out there. He's been accused of inappropriate sexual behavior by 6 massage therapists, is basically the genesis of what this is right now. So that's the allegation that's been thrown out there on Justin Tucker.
It's very serious. The NFL, is going to investigate all that. It's the first day. The Watson stuff, to me, was kind of like, I don't know. Obviously, we don't know. You take it seriously. But when that came out, and then, again, at the very least, what that reporting showed with receipts, not just with people putting their name on it, but also with receipts, legitimate, actual, literal receipts, was someone who it was stunning. And so that's where, to me, that took a left turn. Like, there's no defending him, even regardless of specific instances and what did or didn't happen. So we'll see with this one.
Yeah.
Doesn't look good.
Does not look good. So we'll see. But as you said, Justin Tucker released a statement yesterday kind of going through all this and is vehemently denying all of it. So it's kind of early into the investigation process of it right now. We'll see what that leads to on the Justin Tucker front. Going back to our wide receiver discussion, Joey from Bellevue throwing Bryce Oliver out there as somebody who has potential. He got in some games at the end of the year, made a couple of catches, but my sights are set higher than Bryce Oliver right now if I'm the Titans at wide receiver. They need more than Bryce Oliver. And continue coaching him, continue developing him, and maybe he can carve out a role on the team right now. But they need outside help coming in a big way at wide receiver.
Yeah, Bryce Oliver is a nice story and a guy who is trying to carve out a situation where he can play some in the NFL. It's just not like that. He's not. I'm pretty sure, and I understand what happened with the NWI, but remember, that was after NWI's rookie year. Bryce, I'm pretty sure that Bryce Oliver's not going to all of a sudden come out of nowhere and become a big difference maker. You have to get some new faces in there.
We got Caleb on YouTube asking the question out there. I feel like Cam Ward is going to be the best quarterback option available for the Titans. Your thoughts on that?
I've been team Sanders of those two.
There are a lot of people as more time goes on, Joe, throwing it out there like, why would you even question that Cam Ward can't be the number 1 overall pick?
Yeah.
We're seeing a lot of that this week.
No, there are definitely some people who think that there's a big difference between the two. I buy I guess the way I look at it, which is higher floor, higher ceiling, higher floor Sanders, higher ceiling. If that's the way you look at it, then you probably should go Ward, right? It's just that I still like a high floor and some level of this is going to be a good quarterback. It can be a pretty good quarterback in the league. There is value in that. Whereas I think with Cam Ward, again, I think there's a higher ceiling and there is definitely the, whatever you want to call it, the hero ball Will Levis sort of concern, that's there. So I don't know. I'm not drafting either of them if I'm at the top of this draft. And that's just how I look at it. I'm not drafting either of them because I badly need a quarterback. I don't think that they're that level of quarterback.
I don't think I do either. Although I will say I've gone down the YouTube rabbit hole of Cam Ward.
Oh, it's
you can find some things where you're just like, my gosh, look at that. That's
no question. No question. Now, again, I will show you the pre-draft Malik Willis video cut-ups.
Malik.
He is winging it around. He's
Malik's
got a big arm. Absolutely. But, yeah, I'm with you. Cam he's intriguing. And, again, tell me 5 years from now that we're talking about Cam Ward as a star in this league, just lasering the ball over the field. I don't have a shocked face. It's just like right now, based on everything and then I think Levis kind of probably influences this a little bit. It is difficult, I think, to sometimes get that out of a player. If they get away with things at lower levels and then come to the league, I think with some guys they change, some guys they don't. Levis, that was disappointing this year, especially after his rookie year when I don't think he really did that stuff that much.
Let's head back to our 102.5 The Game phone line. Welcome in Jack in Inglewood. Jack, good morning. Thanks for calling in.
Yeah, I know exactly what the difference is in drafting the two of them.
What's that?
Skill-wise, they're within sight of each other, but the big difference is with one of them you get a free circus and all the scrutiny in the world, especially if you bring Shedeur in here and he gets killed behind no offensive line. The other guy, you'll have all kind of maneuvering room to let the man take a normal course of maturing into the role. That's the difference.
Thanks for the call, Jack. Appreciate it. I mean, we've talked about the Deion part of this. There's going to be more attention on it. There's no doubt. Like, if you bring in Shedeur Sanders, there's some attention that comes along with that. How free flowing is the conversation going to be, like, from Deion's perspective? Like, if, let's say the Titans draft Shedeur and he's getting just murdered behind this offensive line for the first 4 weeks, are we going to be like halfway into the season and Deion steps up to the podium at Colorado and is like, guys, before we start today, preparing for Texas Tech, I got to throw this out there. The Titans offensive line is total trash, and I've held my tongue as long as I can, and I'm just not doing it anymore.
Bill Callahan, get out. You're out of there. You're out of there, Bill. I will pick their next offensive line coach.
Look, I'm not going to say that he's not going to do that. I don't know. I
think this is actually, now I really regret our segment with Stilly, because as much as I really don't, I think this is so overblown. Those Stilly and Caroline in their Jared versus Joe competition. Look at my air quotes, like Stephen Jones.
The drought.
I was seriously, like, Jared actually thinks that because of Deion, that's why Shedeur is a prospect.
Well, I don't think that's true. I do not think that's true.
That's freaking moronic.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I'm sure, or he wouldn't be talked about at the top of the draft if not for Deion. To me, it's that call tells you the opposite, right? That's what people are saying. It hurts him. The Deion factor is not viewed as a positive.
Yeah, like, first off, this is a interesting quarterback discussion anyway, because there's such a wide variance on how good people think both of these guys are, right? Like, we've talked about Blake Bedingfield as a second-round grade on Shedeur Sanders. Not that there's anything wrong with the second round. but there's a huge difference between a second round grade and number 1 overall pick. Those are two very different things in
Absolutely.
this discussion. But there are some people that
Multiple
swear
have
up
him in
and
the
down
40s.
that think that he's, I joke about it, but Mel Kiper's got a number 4 player on the big board. Like it's a huge degree of variance when you talk about the way people view Sanders and Ward.
Yeah, and what it keeps coming back to for me is like we all are like there's so many factors. First of all, I think early in a quarterback's career, if you're in a good place, you get protection, you don't see ghosts, you have the right support, you have a coach who works with you, then you can flourish and find your full potential. And then so many potentially great quarterbacks just are in the bad spot. And so we just view them as busts. Well, that guy sucked. What if he put that guy in this spot? If Joe Montana went to the freaking Lions, we would have never heard from him again. Same with Tom Brady. If Chuck Long would have gone, I always go back to Chuck Long. If Chuck Long would have gone to, the Giants, then he could have been an all-time great.
Sean on the text line says if they draft Sanders, they're a lock for Hard Knocks. Maybe so.
Well, there you go. Then that's what you must do. I think you're probably right. What's the rule? It's like you can turn them down.
If you've made the playoffs or if you've got a first-year head coach, I believe.
Those are the only two conditions under which you can actually turn them down.
Look, there's been so much talk about Hard Knocks. I'm just like, good Lord.
Hard Knocks has absolutely. Speaking of, Mike Borgonzi, is he going to be Fonzie or is this scheme going to be Ponzi? Hard Knocks has absolutely jumped the shark.
Yeah, it has.
It really has. I used to be all in on Hard Knocks.
I will say the hilarity of Mara in New York talking about, I'd be really sick to my stomach if Saquon ends up in Philadelphia. And now that he's run for 2,000 yards and is in the Super Bowl, it's pretty funny.
Yeah, like you get snippets, but honestly, I don't find it to be compelling must-watch TV anymore. I used to. When Rex Ryan was up there talking about corns on the feet, I mean, shoot, when Vrabel, the Texans won, Vrabel got on the screen and got in 19 F-bombs per 30 seconds.
The Ravens one where they did the impression of Shannon Sharp, it was pretty good.
Yeah. The Cowboys one with Campo as coach.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it was like Curb Your Enthusiasm.
615-737-1025, our phone number. Pred's Pick to Click coming up next. Be the first caller at 615-737-1025. If you guess the goal scorer for the game tonight, you win a pair of tickets to a future Nashville Predators home game. We will do that next. Wrap up the conversation on the Titans as well. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Preds pick to click here on Robby and Rexrode. Preds in action tonight, taking on the Buffalo Sabres. Pre-game at 5 o'clock here on 102.5 The Game. Puck drop at 6 tonight. Max Hers will have your pre-game and post-game coverage. First half of a back-to-back. Preds in Buffalo tonight. They're in Pittsburgh tomorrow. No change to the standings in our Preds pick to click competition. Rexrode, 11 correct answers. The listeners and myself with 7. Nick Keyser with 4 correct answers. With that in mind, we head to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in John to the program. John, thanks for calling in. Who is your pick to click tonight for the Nashville Predators?
It'll be Steven Stamkos.
Along with Steven Stamkos. Thank you, John. Have a good weekend.
Thank you.
Steven Stamkos off the board. Keyser, you are up first today. Your pick to click for Nashville.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Philip Forsberg.
Philip Forsberg off the board. Stamkos, Forsberg, Joe Rexrode, your pick to click for the Predators tonight.
Is that John from the YouTube chat? Deshaun Watson denied it. Duh. Oh, well, gee, thanks for the news flash, John. No, I don't think it was the same John. One with an H, one without an H. So we got Stamkos.
Keyser spelling. I mean, we don't know how that John.
Oh, that is a good point. That is a good point. Did he tell you it's John?
Yes, actually, on our spreadsheet that I keep for pick to click, it's JOHN. So
Okay.
yes, sorry. Desperate times.
Keyser's got a
measures.
spreadsheet. There you go.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm so confused right now. Okay, so we have Stamkos and Forsberg gone.
That's correct.
Why am I not first? Should I be first?
You were first last week when I was gone. And you jumped line actually to be first last week while I was gone.
Yes,
So
you did.
What? How do you figure?
You were not supposed to be first that time.
It's a rotation.
And then you went first. But it's kind of my fault because I didn't give you the rotation because I was halfway dead.
So the rotation is like I go back to last and then I wait and then I go back and I get to do it once every 10 times.
That's correct.
All right, Marchessault.
Marchessault. The selection. Stamkos, Marchessault, Forsberg off the board. Give me Svechkov.
Oh, we talked about him earlier.
We did. Svechkov will score tonight. Fedor Svechkov here in the competition. Stamkos, Forsberg, Marchessault, Svechkov in Preds pick to click. Preds in action tonight and tomorrow. A back-to-back set for them this weekend. Final thoughts on the Titans this week. There's a lot of prospect watching going on with the East-West Shrine Bowl, the Senior Bowl this week. And Joe, the calendar about to flip to February, which means we are just about a month and a half out now from NFL free agency, and then about 2.5 months out from the NFL draft. So I am interested to see a couple of things on the quarterback front over the coming weeks here. Is there any clarity on the Aaron Rodgers situation with Aaron Glenn coming in with the Jets? I think, as Super Bowl time comes and goes, how quickly does he come to a decision about whether or not he's going to still play football and whether or not he is going to be a member of the New York Jets? If he's not, and he does want to continue playing football, does that become an option for the Titans at that point? Atlanta's made it sound like they're okay with having Kirk Cousins as a backup. That ain't happening.
Nope.
So I think we all know that he's going to be a free agent at some point here. So everybody else, Kirk Cousins is going to be a free agent. Justin Fields is going to be a free agent. I'm interested to see what Pittsburgh decides on the Russell Wilson front. But really, Wilson and Darnold and Rodgers, what more clarity do we learn about them in the coming weeks?
Yeah.
Rodgers is the one that has to decide whether or not he wants to continue to play football.
Yeah. And look, if he does, then he's in the mix of possibilities. Like you said, it's not like he had a terrible season. I wouldn't be excited about that one. He'd be down the list a little bit for me. But as a media person, he's top, right? I mean, he's top of the list for us, right? For the stuff that we could talk about here.
Him or Shedeur.
That's true. Or the Rodgers mentoring Shedeur is definitely the best case media.
Hey, Rodgers was a pretty good mentor to old J-Love. So
there you go.
He's done it before.
Although Stilly
unintentionally.
Stilly thinks he stinks now. One last thought I want to give Robby. First of all, love the Haslam thing. WNBA, the Tennessee Summit. Michaela Blake's 53 points last night, NCAA freshman record, SEC record. She is going to be one of the biggest sports stars in the country in coming years. First pick, 2028 draft, Tennessee. She stays in Nashville after 4 years at Vanderbilt, winning a national championship with the Commodores. She then wins WNBA championships with the Tennessee Summit. I'm not putting too much pressure on a freshman in college, am I?
It's framed. I'll clip it.
There you go.
If
this all comes true, then I want you to all remember I just said it.
Is that like one of Stilly's guarantees? Is that what you're doing?
I'm not guaranteeing anything, but I could see how it could work out this way. Okay. She's incredible. Go watch her at 2:00 Sunday.
Everyone have a great weekend. We'll be back on Monday morning, 6 a.m. Chasing Big Joe coming up next. This is 102.5, 106.3 The Game.